we're going to lose to everybody if this trend continues. We can't win wars with the bodies that we have. The Department of Defense is always a parallel. It's just a reflection of what society is at large, right? And when you look at society at large right now, they are just that. They are very large. They're obese. They're gelatinous blobs of broken minds. They don't know if they're a boy or a girl. They definitely have never jumped out of a tree before. So when they go to airborne school and they land on a static line jump and they break both their legs, it's because they've never done it before. You and I grew up chasing kids and like smacking each other with sticks, and this generation hasn't done that. So they're just weaker in every form of the word. I know every generation says this, but right now, statistically, we've never had a data point to show like that it has ever been this bad. So now I know like the World War II guys were like, those Vietnam guys are a bunch of pussies, and then the Vietnam guys are like, oh man, those GWOT guys are a bunch of pussies. And the GWOT guys are like, man, all these millennials and Gen Zs are a bunch of like, but they really are. But this is a real big problem and we don't know how to fix it. This is the thing that's causing the biggest problem, from social media to pornography to iPad, screen time, diet. Like the food that we're eating right now is poison. Literally, the things that are in our food is illegal in most other countries, but it's legal here. They're not allowed to export it. If you go to Japan or you go to Italy, a bunch of American foods aren't even allowed to be imported there because they know the things that are in them are so disgusting. There's a hilarious video meme of these Italian moms comparing American pasta to the pasta that they make, and they could not be more dissimilar. They're like, this is not pasta. Like, we don't know what these ingredients are, but this is not like, we use flour and a little bit of salt, and we throw some eggs in there, and then here's the process of us making pasta. And like, this is poison. So I think it's a combination of a whole bunch of things. And then the society culture problem is another gigantic piece. We have the culture of being an American has changed in the past 30 years in a really negative way. Where it used to be family first, like the nuclear family was the cornerstone of American society. And like there was the motivations for a male figure in the household. Like he's going to be a provider, he's going to be a protector, he's going to preserve his family. Like he's obviously going to be sex driven. So he's like trying to be a masculine person in the household. On the opposite end of that spectrum, the woman would embrace being feminine. The kids respected the parents. You look at Homer, like the longest running cartoon TV series right now. When you go into his brain, he's motivated by three things: beer, donuts, and cluelessness. He is the idiot in the whole entire family. And from Modern Family to
Family Guy.
Yeah, every single one of them. Like the parent figure is the most disgusting, despicable person there. So of course that's going to naturally be eroding the view of this generational passing of information. That generational gap from grandparents to children used to be very commonplace, right? Like I learned how to magnetize a screwdriver. I learned how to charge a battery. I learned like the tricks and the trades of like how to hold a hammer and how one hammer was different than a different hammer, and that hammer was specific to a job. And while my dad could have taught me that, it was actually my grandpa that did that. And I was able to receive that easier from my grandpa than it was my own father. And that's how it has been for hundreds of years until now. Now you see no kind of cross-pollination of ideas from one generation to two generations ago, from like the grandparents to the grandchild. And that's tragic. There's a huge loss of information there. If you go to Native American tribes, when a girl is having her first period, the grandmother would take that child away and teach her all of like, okay, this is how you take care of yourself. This is during this period of, 5 to 7 days, you're going to be drinking extra water. Like this is how you clean yourself. And you go down to South America, a bunch of cultures down there, they're actually like traditional tribal periods where that granddaughter would go to the grandmother and she would spend a week or 2 weeks with this grandmother learning all of the birds and bees of life. And that transfer of knowledge about how to raise a child, about how to take care of their body, about what this cycle looks like. Like, what is going on in America where now we look at the prior generation as these old broken idiots that you can just walk up to on the street in New York and slam them in the face, which we see all the time. It's been an erosion of respect of these other generations. There should be a yearning to serve. I've found nothing more meaningful in my life than finding opportunities to do good to somebody or for something that is bigger or better than myself. And I've, as an individual, have found growth in those times more so than anything else in life. But a whole bunch of people right now don't want to serve anyone but themselves. They want to build a brand, they want food delivered to their door. It's just so short-sighted in realizing that sometimes it takes time to develop who you are as a person. And that development comes from struggle and failure and service. On the military front, you don't think that those young men and women coming out of the Great Depression had things to do when they learned that Nazis were flooding across the borders throughout Europe? You don't think that during the Korean War, as America has the largest economic boom in history, in the history of our species, that Americans didn't have something to do besides fight communism in a land that most people had never even heard of before. Go to Vietnam, the ones that were then conscripted, the draft occurs and hundreds of thousands of people had no choice but to go serve their country. You don't think they had better things to do as like the great awakening of cultures happening in the 60s and 70s? We're fighting for civil rights. We're fighting for the rights of women. We're fighting for transparency within the government. We lose one of the greatest presidents our country's ever had. Like, all of this is in real tough times. But I get that you want to sit there naked and eat your yogurt. But you think that that's more important than what was happening previously? Like, they didn't have other things to do? It's so pathetic and childish. I just look at it like a petulant child. Communication problem on Department of Defense side. I think we failed to clearly show what we do. Like, people look at my resume and be like, man, that guy, all he's done his adult life is gone overseas and killed. That's the furthest thing from the truth. There have been periods where I had to do that to create stability and security within a nation. But why? Why were we doing that? It was to give that place an opportunity to exist, where democracy could have a foothold, where a hook could be set, and that place had a chance to live. The more secure and the more stable a world has, a country like ours that is built off capitalism has more countries to do commerce with. But on the human rights side of it, with stability and security comes opportunity for young girls to learn how to read, for young men to find occupations besides working within terrorism or slinging some form of human suffering. And we have to communicate to that gay girl eating yogurt naked on her couch, what does it look like to serve? And I think they'd be blown away to realize that we go to some of the most downtrodden cultures on the planet and give them a chance. We give them opportunity. We create something that they've never had in their... Like, if you were born in America, you won the lottery. Like, you're in the safest, richest place on the planet to have ever existed. Like, you look one continent to our east, slightly south, and you can't go to a country that doesn't have... when I say like third world poor, I'm not talking like favelas in Brazil. I'm talking like they're one meal away from starving to death. And starving to death, when we say, man, I'm so hungry, I'm starving. Starving to death means like you are so malnourished that if you even eat a meal, it might kill you because your body can't process the calories that are in it. They've never seen suffering and human desperation like we see all over the world. And we get to go to that place and give them a chance. It's like, how do you tell a girl that's sitting there on TikTok? I don't know. Colonialism has existed for forever. And some of the greatest things to happen to some countries were them being conquered and then settled, and then commerce occurs. And then for the first time, that country isn't tribally just killing each other. It's really easy to like label any form of expansion of a country or an idea or a culture negatively. There are cultures that are better than other cultures. I know we're supposed to be like super inclusive. I could list a couple dozen cultures that are so disgusting and so evil where, a 67-year-old man can have 5, 10 wives. And guess what? Those wives are little girls. As soon as they have their first period, they're eligible to be sold and married to this dude. You please tell me that it would not be better for Britain or for America or for Mexico to go over and settle that country. It would be 100% better, and the people there would be better off for it. But we have to appreciate all these cultures. We definitely don't assume any of these. No, there are better cultures, and the world would be better off. It would be a more peaceful place. Not everybody has to be westernized. That's not what I'm saying. But there are evil ideas, and there are evil religions, and there are evil cultures. And man, I just wish that there are also shared values. There are norms that are beautiful, that transcend cultures and transcend countries and transcend borders. And those ideals, like murder is wrong, rape is wrong, those ideas are not wrong in some cultures. Well, those cultures are evil. I will never say that the government is a solution for anything. If we think that it would be a better solution to give the government authority to go into households and say how much time they should be on screens or who they should call, like that goes against every ounce of what I believe and what I think it means to be an American. And in the preamble of the Constitution, we the people, like the people really were badasses. They carved their existence out of the wilderness. They fought bears and they fought Indians. And then they were told that they were going to be taxed a certain amount. And they're like, no. And then we'll throw this tea in the harbor. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to have this little problem in Boston and an American's going to get shot. Now you pissed us off. We're going to kill all of you and we're going to kick you off the continent. Like, we the people were a bunch of badasses. There was individual responsibility for those people. They're well-read, they're well-traveled. For you to vote, you had to be a landowner. You had to shoot a gun. You were required to own a gun and to train with that gun.
You were required to own a gun.
To own a gun. If you were a voting member, you had to own a gun and you had to train with it. And there was a dedicated day off for the entire country. Every single person had a dedicated day to go out and train. And there were some inherent responsibilities to being a citizen, to being we the people. Now we're just like, somebody's going to do it for me. Somebody's going to take care of this problem. Somebody's going to solve this world problem. Somebody's going to tell me how much I'm supposed to eat or what I'm supposed to eat. That responsibility, we've just been handing over bit by bit for the past 40 years. And now we don't know how to take it back. And responsibility is where freedom comes from. You can't be free unless you are self-sufficient. You cannot be free unless you're individually responsible. You can't be free from the government being able to tell you how you're supposed to be healthy unless you're healthy. Like, I can look at somebody saying, hey, you need to put this in your body. And I could be like, no, I don't. I'm freaking jacked and I'm going to live until I'm 100. Hey, you need to put this in your kids' bodies. I'm like, my kid has a 6-pack, can speak a couple of languages and plays 5 sports. Like, he doesn't need what you're giving him, man. Like, he eats free-range chicken, elk, bison. I promise you, whatever you're trying to give him, he doesn't want. But we can do that because we're in a position of authority as with sovereignty, and then take that into any other category, whether it's intellectual or education. And like, hey, you have to be educated in this way. No, the way that you're educating those kids is dumb. All of the kids that we educate are way smarter than your dumb kids. I don't want what you're trying to sell us because we do it better. But that's sovereignty. And that is us taking back those freedoms and taking back that authority and be like, you don't get that. You can't tell me what to do because I do it better.